Shout out to my motherfucker. Ooh, watch my mouth. However, shout out to my mind bender. Shout out to my head doc, aka my therapist. I'm not gonna put her name on here or nothing, but I'm pretty grateful for my therapist that I have them at the time. But she's something different. She's something different. She's definitely like one of my top 2 favorite therapists I've ever had in my life. Like, girl, how many therapists I've had? But her and one other one, they 5. So I'm gonna give like 10 things that they don't tell you about therapy. I feel like there's a lot of myths. I feel like there's some other common myths and things that people talk about, and I feel like I'm going to talk about things that I feel like people don't necessarily talk about all the time, as somebody that's been going to therapy for a very long time. So before y'all watch the video, make sure, because I don't know how long it's gonna be. Girl, I don't know. Get you something to drink, get you something to take some notes, get some food, get settled in. Make sure you turn your notification bell on so I can be a part of your algorithm. Like, comment, subscribe, blah, 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 all that shit. Is she on? I ain't did this in a while. Hi guys! What's up, y'all? It's your lover, homie, and best friend, Vanity Miguel. And I was just sitting pondering a little bit about therapy. I'm such a huge advocate for therapy, but I've also been through the process of having a lot of therapists, and just, I know a lot of people give up after 1, especially 2. So I'm gonna talk about 10 things they don't tell you about therapy, so that if you're thinking about therapy, you can kind of get a head start on how to choose your therapist and things like that. 2, if you're already in therapy, you know, and it's not fulfilling, or just some tips to kind of if you're in therapy and it's not really working for you, or if you're in therapy and you want to get more out of it, if you're thinking about going into therapy, whatever. So these are for people that are interested and just don't really understand how it works. So that's what we're gonna talk about. Okay, so let's go over therapy. Like, what is it? So therapy is pretty much, if we're thinking general terms, because you know there's a lot of different therapies, is pretty much a treatment like intended intended to relieve or heal a disorder, right? I personally am going to take the disorder out, because you'll see in number 1. It's pretty much treatment intended to heal or relieve, right? So what is a therapist? A person who treats mental disorder through verbal communication or interaction. I want to give a little bit of background so that y'all understand that I'm speaking from experience, and that I'm not just on here like just fucking running my mouth. So I started therapy, I want to say, when I was in high school, and it started out because I had some like anxiety or whatever, and my mom was like, you know, see a therapist, blah blah blah. Now I will say that I don't know if I had the feeling of not liking therapy, but I will say that I did not quite like that therapist. I will say that I was young and I had disclosed some things, and since I was underage, they had to disclose it to my mom, and that made a very big trust issue, because like, it's like, what is you doing? What is you doing? I had told her something, and I guess they have to, you know, report certain things. So, okay, cool. But as a, you know, I'm coming to you, confidentiality. Like, what are you doing? And I remember she tried to like get me to tell my mom. I'm like, no, because I never wanted her to know. I'm telling you, so you tell her. You bring her in here, tell her. That could be a story for a different day. It's a whole different thing. My first therapy session. So yeah, that kind of turned me off to it, but I was still open, because I was understanding of, hey, they have a certain guidelines that if certain things are happening, especially if you're underage, they have to tell your parents or whatever. Cool. So that's where I started, and then life progressed. I've been in therapy from then up until now. Now I've had many therapists. I've had a lot of therapists, a lot. And I think that me having so many though made it to where I can have a therapist like I have now, where I know what kind of therapist I need, as far as if I need someone that's a little more passive, or where I lead, or someone that fucking asks you, which I can I say? How does that make you feel? How does that make you feel? How does that make you feel? I personally don't like therapists like that. I need to get into it. I need to be aggressive. So just, it helped me realize what kind of therapy and therapist works for me. So more laid back, soft therapy stuff is just not for me, but that's what it helps. So my story is, that's when it started. I'm still currently in therapy. So yeah, that's the story. Now let's get into number one. Oh, let's start. Okay, let's preface this, and I don't even know if it should really be number one, but it's number one. You do not have to have a serious mental illness or breakdown or some crazy situation that made you go to therapy. Like, that's not. And I feel like, because I'm gonna elaborate on all these, but for that one, I think that's just, you'll see, because I just don't even get that logic. I guess I kind of get it. I'll say I get it from being a Black American standpoint. I'll say I get it from just, you know, yeah, like a generational cultural standpoint, kind of, where it's like, oh, if you go to therapy, you're weak, or oh, this and that, and blah blah blah. You don't have to be mentally ill to go to a therapist. You just don't have to be that. You don't have to have some major crazy thing happen in your life where you're like, okay, now I need to go to therapy. You don't need that. So we just let's get that out the way now, so that if you're watching this video, I need you to understand that just because you're watching this video, it's not gonna be like, oh yeah, something's wrong with me. I don't want you to, first of all, it's something wrong with all of us. Let me say that, because I don't want nobody watching this and being like, oh, it's just something wrong with me, oh my gosh, I need therapy. Okay, it's people that go to therapy for goddamn eating disorders and shit like that. You do not have to be a fucking psychopath. Put me in a motherfucking straight jacket, come get me now. You don't have to be that. So let's set that. That's the foundation. So get it out your head that I'm a cuckoo crazy person. You might be. Don't worry about it. However, that is not the prerequisite to going to therapy. That's number one. Okay, let's just foundation. You do not have to be a nutcase. You do not have to have gone through some super crazy traumatic thing that was like, oh my god, now I need to go to therapy. That's not what that is. Number two. Now listen, every therapist is not a one-size-fit-all, and I feel like for some people that's gonna be like, duh. One, therapists specialize in things. So some may specialize in trauma or whatever. So say they specialize in childhood trauma. Just because they were a good fit for your friend who also has childhood trauma doesn't mean they're going to be a good fit for you. Me personally, like I said before, I like therapists that are a little more aggressive. And by aggressive, I just mean I like my therapist cut and dry. I've had 2 therapists like that. Okay? I rotate through therapists fast in terms of if they don't have that quality, because I don't like therapists that sit and, how does that make you feel? How does that make you feel? How does that make you feel? Me to death. I like therapists that will tell me, okay, say something to me like, hey, you did this, but you told me this, and this is this, and we know that it doesn't have a good effect. Do you love yourself? Like, I like my therapist to be like cut and dry. I like my therapist raw. So, and that's just me. And some people cannot use that approach, but that's also a part of my personality a little bit. I like things like that. I know that everything's not black and white, but when it comes to like growth and healing, all that stuff, a lot of things, or fixing things relationship, I'm very like, give it to me. Like, even if it hurt me, I need to know the truth. I need to know what's going on. I'm here for a reason. Let's fix it. So 2, every therapist is not a one size fit all. So don't get discouraged if the first therapist you seek out, especially if the first therapist that you seek out, anybody that's going to therapy for the first time, definitely, look over what they specialize in. You can look over recommendations. You can talk to people if they go to therapy. But do not be discouraged after the first one. I would say even don't be discouraged after the second one. It's a little like, okay, 3 times now, I can't really, But I don't get discouraged, especially not the first one. They're just not one size fit all. And that leads me into number 3. I feel like are you trying to convince people to go to therapy? Or are you trying to like scare them away? I don't know. I feel like I don't know what I feel like, what the hell? Damn. Okay. Number 3 is therapists can be wrong. They can be wrong. I'm sorry. They can just be wrong. Therapists do have the power to diagnose. They can be wrong. They can be wrong in your treatment. I would say that it's a plethora of things and reasons why. Like, let's say they like, get on this medication, do this, do that. First of all, anytime you are recommended to try a medication or seek out your psychiatrist, get multiple opinions before you start any antidepressant, antipsychotic, any of that stuff. Get more than one opinion. This is still your life, your journey, and your body and stuff. They're human. Therapists are human. Psychiatrists are human. We're talking about therapists, but they're not always right. Misdiagnoses happen all the time. Sometimes it might not even be a misdiagnosis, but a lot of mental illnesses are on a spectrum, so you might not even need medication. There's nothing wrong with that. Conversation for another day. Nothing wrong with it. However, definitely get second opinions, but therapists can definitely be wrong. And you gotta realize that you're telling them what you want them to know, right? They're not around you. They don't always know how you operate. They are gonna get a baseline of, who you are. However, they can be wrong because you could not be telling the whole story. You could have just missed some information or how you saw it. So they can be very wrong. You got to understand they're going based off of what you're telling them. Just like if I'm talking to my friend, I can convey, what I'm thinking, but she'll never know exactly what I'm thinking. Like my friend will just never know exactly what I'm thinking because you're not in my head. Same thing with therapists, okay? So they can be wrong. Number 4. It's kind of a ripple. We kind of bouncing off, Number 4 is have a goal. Have a goal. First of all, just even taking a step to implement a tool, because therapy is a tool, to implement self-care, because that's how I look at therapy. It's self-care. That's a huge step, right, in itself. Have a goal, okay? You need to have a goal because if you go in and it's like, dang, I'm just messed up. I don't know. When I was a kid, this and that. And I mean, I'm not saying you can't do that. If like I have traumas and this and that, go. I'm not saying don't go. But I'm saying it'd be easier for you. You will make the most out of your sessions and your time if you have a goal. With my different therapists, like once I actually understood the kind of therapist I needed and things like that, for different stages, me personally, some people stick with the same therapist for years, 10, 20 years. Me personally, I'm not saying I wouldn't. I would. However, I've just noticed that when there's big shifts in my life, not something crazy had happened, but when there's just big shifts in my life, even spiritually or just environment wise, sometimes I get new therapists because I feel like my chapter with that one therapist is closed. I have a goal. Like, hey, okay, where am I at this stage in my life? It could have been, I've seen therapists for when I have my domestic violence situation. Like, they'll still know about my past, but the goal kind of changes. It could be, I feel like I'm overwhelmed. I don't know my purpose. I don't know where to start. Like, literally, you don't have to sit and talk about just trauma and hurtful stuff and these bad things that happen to you. It can literally just be, hey, I'm a person that's juggling parenthood, school, and work, and then I want to have time for my dreams and my passions and all that stuff. And that is something that you could talk about in therapy for them to kind of, because a lot of things we do is just mental. So have a goal. A tip though, if you have a therapist that says, hey, what are you expecting to get out of this? What is your goal? I will say that is a green flag. That's a beautiful green flag, because some therapists, you just go and they just kind of be like, oh, okay, just tell me about yourself. And I mean, I get it. It's, but I've realized with myself, I'm just gonna speak for myself, when a therapist is just like, okay, tell me about yourself, I'm like, okay, my name is this, I have this, blah blah blah, yada yada, all this stuff. That's how it would go. Since I'm experienced in therapy though, I already know what to say. Like, look, I'll just start saying, these are my goals, this is the kind of therapist that I need. That's how I say it. But for a person that's never been and stuff, and you just like, hey, tell me about yourself. Like, what? Excuse me? Are we in the class? Are we in class right now? Tell me about yourself. Like, not, hey, tell me what brought you here. Tell me what, like, it's really just, tell me about you. Oh, hey, such and such. Tell me about yourself. That's, I'm not gonna tell you. That's a red flag for me. Like, excuse me. I need you to be more specific now, especially if you know, because you fill out paperwork and stuff. If you know this is my first time or whatever, I'm just new, period. Like, kind of just say, hey, okay, I saw you came from therapy, you've been before, right? Okay, cool. What's your goal here? Something, I don't know. And me personally, I like therapists who lead in with what is your goal, because you're not in therapy for the therapist. You're in therapy for yourself. And when you let a therapist kind of just take over the session, they got to pull teeth. Okay, how does that make you feel? How does that make you feel? How does that make you feel? It's kind of like, it's not going to be as beneficial, I don't think. When you're leading and you understand that you're there for you and this is something you're doing for yourself to grow and heal and all that stuff, you are in control of your therapy sessions. I don't know if I have had a therapist kind of try to take over my therapy sessions. That is another story for another day. If you are not in control of your therapy sessions, you need, I would say reevaluate. Just reevaluate, okay? Reevaluate. Okay, so actually, I feel like I just covered this. That leads right into number 5, which is you are allowed to ask your therapist, what can you do for me? Like, yeah, I know I came to you. Like, yeah, I know I came to you for help or whatever, but what can you do for me? Like, okay, once you give your goals and all that stuff and why you're there, okay, now what can you, as a therapist, you know my goal. It's like, to me, you know what? To me, therapists are like, when you go to therapists, it's like interviewing them for a job. Hey, this is what I need. This is what I need accomplished. This is what I need done. Are you the person for the job? And then I would say, when you're in the session, what have you done for me? Reevaluate, and you are allowed to ask yourself, what has my therapist done for me lately? And if you're not feeling it, I don't care what nobody say. Don't let people make you feel like if therapy don't work once, you got to stop going forever, or you're not allowed to switch therapists. I don't care. It's like, if I'm coming to you and I'm trusting you with this and you're going to be a part of my healing, I need to know that you have a plan for me. I need to know that you're like best suited for me. So number 5 is you are definitely allowed to ask your therapist, what can you do for me? What have you done for me lately? Number 6 is it gets worse before it gets better. Now, hear me out. I'm not saying you're supposed to be in there suffering. I'm just saying it gets worse before it gets better. Meaning, when you go into it, one, it's new. It's a very new thing, again, for people. I feel like this is leaning toward more people that don't really do therapy. If you're really there for healing and uncovering all that stuff, some things are going to come up that you didn't know about most of the time. Because when you have a problem or whatever, you got to get to the root of it. Like, it's not like, oh, okay, I lash out. Yeah, okay, but what's underneath all of that? Like, yeah, we're going to fix it, but you kind of, you know what I'm saying? It's going to get worse because you're going to start unpacking and opening up layers of things. But listen to what I said before. It's going to get worse before it gets better. That does not mean if you're going to therapy and while you're in it, you're in excruciating pain when you leave every time. Like, sometimes you might feel a little, you know, like, ooh. But every time you leave, you're just suffering and just suffering. It just causes suffering. That's not what I'm saying. If that's the case, you need a new therapist, or just reevaluate maybe the type of therapy that you're doing, because you're not supposed to feel that way. There'll be times you walk out and you still might be a little emotional, you might cry and stuff, but the overall thing, you're supposed to walk out of it feeling a little bit better, feeling like you gained something a little bit. I do feel like it's a consistent thing. You do have to kind of be consistent. It's kind of like medicine. You got to be a little consistent with it for it to kind of, you know, but you definitely shouldn't be walking out of it just suffering, okay? But it definitely, I'm going to say, it gets worse before it gets better. Lucky number 7. This is something that people probably want to hear. It doesn't have to be for life. It doesn't have to be for every. Again, you have a shift in your life and you work through it. Take it back. You have a shift in your life. Take a break. I don't know what that was. Take a break. I believe in that. I've done that because sometimes rehashing something that I don't need help with, or like going through that week and I had an amazing week. When I think of therapy, I'm from a week to week. Like right now where I'm at, I'm on a week to week basis. Like what happened in this last week that we need to discuss. And I take inventory. I take a lot of inventory. Between sessions, you take inventory of what's going on in your life, because maybe the few major things that you're working on can be helped through your daily practices and habits and stuff like that. So lucky number 7 was it doesn't have to be for life. It doesn't. And that's why I wanted to come and when we came here and started talking about it, for people to understand that it's not because you're broken. Because if you go into it with the mindset like I'm just broken, I got mental, it's something wrong with me, that's why I'm going and therapy's gonna fix me and blah blah blah. You don't want it to be how do I say it? You don't want the adverse reaction. Like you don't want therapy to now be working against you. You don't want it to harm you, because it can. I know I'll get to that, but it can have the adverse reaction. You got to use it as a tool. Okay. So number 7, it doesn't have to be for life. If you need to take breaks, you can literally take breaks from therapy. It's not, you have to go every week, every other week. You can take breaks, or once the goal is complete, the goal is complete. And if you just want to maintain, you can do that too. It's not law. Once you start therapy, it's not law that you have to just stay in therapy your entire life. Number 8, it is time for a different type of therapy. All right. By that, I mean that it's time for a different type of therapy. You have hypnosis, you have animal assisted therapy, you have nature therapy. Unfortunately, we're human. And if you don't find the right therapist the first, second, third, fourth, fifth time, sometimes just after the first, sometimes after the second, whatever, you can be discouraged. And I'm not here to tell nobody that they have to go to therapy. So you may do better with nature assisted, hypnosis, EDMR. Look it up, because I'm going to do a video on that too. So I'm not going to get too deep into that. But there's so many different types of therapy that you can do. Group therapy might help you better. You might have a therapy where they incorporate art a lot. And unfortunately, some people either decide psychotherapy is not worth it, or it just don't work for them. I'm an advocate of, although I really do believe that everybody can benefit from psychotherapy, I really do. It's just, how many therapists do you have to go through to get there? And how realistic is it to tell somebody, hey, no, it's great, but it don't work the first time. It's not working the second time. Damn, the third time. So let's be realistic. Some people, it's just not going to work out. It's not going to work out. There's other types of therapies. I encourage, just try some type of therapy. So yeah, number 8 is psychotherapy is not for you / it's time for a different, type of therapy. All right. We down to the last 2. Number 9. This one may shock a lot of y'all. Like a lot of y'all. Therapy is not, I repeat, therapy is not a magic pill. If you go into therapy thinking pop this magic pill, I'm gonna be fixed, healed, boom, you're wrong. I'm sorry, I don't know why I was so aggressive. You're wrong, but you're wrong. It's not a magic pill. It is a tool. Just like medication is a tool. You know what? Because, hold on, sidebar. We sit and we put so much emphasis on taking care of our physical health. And to be physically healthy, there's not just one thing. Now, there's certain things you can do that probably hold more weight than other things. When it comes to your physical health, there are multiple things you have to do to remain healthy. Eat healthy, exercise, try to monitor your stress, get enough rest, have the right people around us. It's not really, maybe that's whatever. Y'all get what I'm saying though, right? There's a conglomerate of things that go into operating at your like maximum physical health. Same way with your mental. I don't know why people think that there's just this, okay, you just got one thing or just make your mental just whew. No, therapy is a tool. Therapy is a tool. So number 9 is therapy is not a magic pill. We have to start looking at mental health the same way we look at our physical health. Just like spirit, we negate a lot of stuff. Physical health, and then the crazy thing is mental, emotional, and spiritual health will have an effect on your physical health. Like, I don't know. Listen, it's not a magic pill, but when it comes to your mental health, it is a very useful tool. Especially if you're willing to be patient with it, especially if you're like dedicated to it, if you have your goal and stuff like that, it'll work. It's like therapy to me is like shrooms. But it's like you gotta have intent. You have to have intent. Like, I feel like you have better results when you have intent. I just feel like you just have a better chance of really enjoying therapy when you have intent, when you're walking into it like, hey, this is my goal, this is what I'm aiming for. And even if you don't reach that goal when you in the time that you want to, maybe not with that therapist, you usually get something out of it. But you have to like go into it not thinking, okay, this human being, although they went to school for it, so this human being is gonna fix me after 1, 10, 10, whatever, I'm gonna be fully healed. No, because honestly, that's up to you. Fixing, healing, all that stuff is up to you. Therapy is a tool, not a cure-all. Okay, we are at number 10 now. This might actually, again, do I want y'all to go to therapy or do I want to scare y'all? Damn girl. But this one actually might be the most like intense one, or you know, this one might be the most shocking one. Therapy can actually make your trauma worse. Fuck. Therapy can actually make your trauma worse. It can re-traumatize you. This is actually, I was about to say a scientific fact. I don't know. I just did the research, and I have, again, I've experienced it, but I did do some research on the internet, and it was shown that what I thought and felt and experienced, it's something that happens. So yeah, therapy can actually re-traumatize you or make your trauma worse, because sometimes when you go to therapy, you talk about, instead of working more so on a plan, getting a general feel, and you working on habits and plans, you have therapists that will have you explain in detail your traumas, like what happened, where were you, how did it happen, this kind of thing, and that can obviously re-traumatize you. I don't know why therapists do that. Maybe they look, I'm not a therapist, so I don't know why they do that. But I will say I had a therapist like that, where it was kind of like, okay, I know you said child trauma, blah, 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 and it was like, you always want me to go through the very details. Listen, this is what happened, okay? I get it. The details don't really matter, and I can say that because the therapist, I'm telling you, mind bender, she is fine. She's so fine, because it'll be like, okay, boom, what's the situation? Like, yeah, I'll go over some details, but it's not every time we have a conversation. It's like, this will happen, and this is where I was, and this is how, and this is what it felt like, and we don't have to do that. What happened? The gist of the situation. Where it stems from matters, but in some situations, it don't. Sometimes it's, okay, this is just causing you to behave this way, or you're just behaving this way. And especially when it's trauma caused by something that somebody did to you, and you can't change it, you can't go back and fix it and all that stuff. It's like, what is the point of us sitting and harping on it? Listen, you got the gist of the story. For people that were like, again, disclaimer, for people who have been in toxic abuse, you know, those kind of situations on every level, where it's mentally, physically, all that stuff. You don't want to rehash every detail. It's very simple. I was this is what happened to me now. This is how I'm reacting now. This is how I move now. Could be because of that, could be not. And guess what? They did it one too many times. I just stopped going to them, because I'm like, I definitely told you. I had to tell her, like, yo, I actually told you. Like, I'm in therapy trying to cuss my therapist out. Like, what is you doing? Like, I specifically said, don't talk about this person. Just don't talk about the person. I don't understand. So my therapist now, amazing. I'm very blessed. I'm able to share these things because I've seen, honestly, For real. I'm gonna say I've probably seen a good 7 therapists in my life since I was in like high school. So over the course of not even 10 years yet, I've seen about 7 therapists. I just really wanted to talk about that because I feel like I wouldn't say it's misunderstood. I would say that there's young people that watch it, teenagers that watch me, that, you know, might want to go to therapy, try it out, or people that are scared to try it, people that haven't had success with it, people that are in home. Trust me, cultural and generational reasons are causing you not to go to therapy, or you got people around you saying, oh, you don't need to go to therapy, because we're more open now at this time, but, you know, it's still those people, your grandparents, or people just, well, I need to go to therapy, or people looking at you funny. No, don't. Listen, you're responsible for you. You're responsible for your life. You get one, as far as we know. I don't know what you believe in, maybe not. But this life that you have right now, take care of yourself. And I do want to tell people, you don't have to tell people you're in therapy. Me, this is my part. This is just me. This is part of my purpose. I am not ashamed of it. It's that simple. I'm just not ashamed of it. You don't have to tell people you're in therapy. You don't have to tell people if you went to therapy and now you're trying out medication. You don't have to tell people what you're doing for yourself. All right. So pretty much, I just want to encourage y'all, go into therapy because it's about your mindset, with a different mindset. Use it, or think of therapy as a tool to gain insight about yourself. I would say do things in general in life to gain insight about yourself. Don't go into it like, oh yeah, they're gonna fix me, I'm gonna be perfect, and just after 10 sessions, okay, or just if I go for a year. No, go into it open-minded, have a goal, understand that they're still human people on the other side of that trying to help you. It gives you some comfort when you can share things, because you're sharing with the person. They can't be out telling, they're not supposed to share your business, where you have that comfort where it's not going to come back to bite you. Like, you tell your friend something or somebody, people are flawed, then they, you know, I mean, shit, therapists are flawed too. You can sue them if they, you know, but just use it as a tool to gain insight and discernment. Just use it as a tool to strengthen who you are. Get to know things about yourself that you might not have known, or that you end up uncovering, and just trust yourself in the process of therapy in general. When it comes to who you're picking, if a therapist don't fit, it don't fit. If the certain type of therapy you're doing don't work, it don't work. There's nothing wrong with that. And I find that people who do try therapy and feel like it's something wrong with them be like, oh, I can't even go to therapy, I can't even find a good thing, what is wrong with me? No, none of this stuff. A lot of stuff in life is not a one size fit all, but I did want to share my experience with therapy, help some people out. If you're looking into it, or it hasn't been going how you wanted to, or you've been feeling weird about switching therapists or trying a different type of therapy, try different things. I do a lot of different things. Therapy is a tool, okay? So that's it for this video. I dropped little hints about story times all through here. So if there was something that you particularly heard me say like, ooh, that's a story, let me know. Otherwise, I hope that y'all liked the video. I hope that y'all learned something. Let me know which one, 1 through 10, was most helpful, or that you're gonna try to implement, you know what I'm saying? All right, y'all. Spam it up, y'all. And make sure y'all go ahead and if nothing else, make sure y'all show some love, turn the notification bell on and all that stuff, so I can get a part, you know, of the algorithm, because we need to push out things like this, as much as it's toxic culture and all that stuff. Don't get me to preaching. Anyways, let me know what you thought about the video, and yeah, I'll see y'all later. Bye.